Hey, good morning, everybody. Happy Thursday. It's a warm Thursday morning, currently 61 degrees, high of around 80. Got a 51% chance of precipitation this afternoon. 5:03 is the sunrise and 8:30 is the sunset. So the length of days is growing, is going to start to stop growing as fast. Right, it's the same as yesterday, 5:03 and 8:30. Now it might grow a little bit here and there, but it'll taper off as coming into the middle and end of June. So enjoy the summer while it's here. Make sure you get out in the sun, let it you know uh, soak into your skin, grab the vitamins from it. Uh, we are a people that's meant to be outside and not be on video games and stuff, right? So let's make sure we soak up that gift of the sun. So we're in a study of Esther. We're in Esther chapter 3. I'm sorry, Esther chapter 4. Esther chapter 4. And Esther finds out that uh, Mordecai is rolling around in front of the king's gate in sackcloth and ashes, and she sends clothes, maybe because she's worried for his concern, because nobody was allowed to enter the king's gate clothed in sackcloth, and he was fasting, lamenting, weeping, um, and um, Esther had concern, right? She had concern, was trying to figure out what was going on. Um, and so she sends Hatak, that's one of the king's eunuchs, to Mordecai to find out what was going on. Mordecai, this is verse 6, check it out. Hatak went out to Mordecai in the open square of the city in front of the king's gate. So right out in the open. And at a certain point, we need to stop trying to conceal ourselves, our hearts, um, our inner person, right? We need to stop trying to conceal that from God, or stop trying to fake the funk is one that I like to say. You can't fake the funk. If you know you're smelly, you can't fake it. Everybody smells it, right? Everybody knew he was rolling around in sackcloth and ashes. The community knew what was going on. You can't fake the funk that these people are going to be annihilated, okay? And so he's right out in the open. And, guys, sometimes when we're in those places, we need to deal with God out in the open, right? He knows our inward thoughts and intents. We're going to get to that in a minute, hopefully. But so he knows all that. So why do we try to fake the funk? Can't fake the funk, right? Everybody knows we're smelly. He knows we're smelly. So we might as well just get down to it. And so, right in the middle of the gate, in front of everybody, verse 7, Mordecai told him all that had happened to him and the exact sum of money that Haman had promised to pay the king's treasuries for the destruction of the Jews. So he got that inside information from the king's officials that were there, and the king's eunuchs that were rolling with Haman, who were trying to get him to bow down to Haman, right? So that's where I think he got that. Um, and then Mordecai also gave him a copy of the written decree issued in Shusha for the destruction, that he might show it to Esther and explain it to her and command her to go to the king and beg his favor and plead with him on behalf of her people. Okay, so he's essentially asking for an intercession, right? He's asking for an intercession. He's asking for somebody to intercede for the king's uh, decree that he had put on the people, the decree to annihilate the Jews. Even though he didn't know it was the Jews, he um, he wants the king to stop the decree that he had put out, right? Um, Now, this is used as an allegorical um, image for an intercession from Jesus for his people on God's wrath of his people, right? So, as sinners, um, we deserve God's wrath, right? And we needed Jesus to intercede for us, to die for our sins, to hang himself on the cross, be the perfect sacrifice. Now, Esther, portrayed as the most beautiful and a virgin, so she was pure, um, is that perfect sacrificial intercession. So she's going before the king. He's asking her to go before the king, beg for his favor for the um, intercession or the life of her people, the Jews, right? To go to the king, who is supposed to be God the Father, that's gonna um, uh, lay his wrath upon the people if we don't have that perfect sacrifice for our sin. Now, could it be interpreted that way? Sure, it can be, and I see the similarities. There are similarities. However, when interpreting this, we cannot simply spiritualize it. Okay, we cannot spiritualize it. Um, we can see the similarities, and we can take the precepts, right? The precepts from it and apply it to now and apply it to when Jesus came. Sure, I guess. Um, the precepts, and Paul did write that the things that the fathers went through were for our ensamples, right? Ensamples to us on how to live, and so we can use it as an example um, on how to live. And so I think that is good. However, we cannot dismiss that this is an actual event that actually happened in an actual historical part of time, right? Like, we have a complete time frame that I highlighted, I guess yesterday, right? From first month in the 12th year um, to the first month in the 13th year, right? Maybe it was the 14th year, whatever it was. Uh, we this happened in a time, right? It is part of the historical account of the Jews um, in captivity. Really, essentially, is what it is, under Persian captivity. So we cannot just simply look at this as some sort of metaphorical interpretation of New Testament, of Jesus, of his intercession for us. Though he did do that, right? He did do that. And so Hatak went to and told Esther what Mordecai had said. This is verse 9. Then Esther spoke to Hatak, commanded him to go to Mordecai and say, all the king's servants and the people of the provinces know that if any man or woman goes to the king inside the inner court without being called, there is but one law. Okay, so again, this is also used as part of the metaphor of needing to be called into the inner court, right? Oh, not everybody can do it. There can only be one intercessor, blah, 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 blah. And to be put to death, except the one to whom the king holds out his golden scepter to, the forgiveness or the Passover, the justification, right? Being justified from the law, right? Being saved from the law by the righteous judge. to be put to death, except him who owns at the scepter, so that he may live. But as for me, I have not been called to come into the king these 30 days. So, um, has she lost favor with the king? Um, I don't know. But what I do know is back in chapter 3, verse 15, the king was busy getting drunk with Haman while the town went into confusion, right? So he was trying to make his officials happy and worried about his kingdom and doing all those things. He was at the very minimum distracted, and he was distracted by an Agagite, somebody that um, has the spirit of um, Antichrist, right? The spirit of Babylon, uh, impacting him because of who he is, going all the way back to Agag, and going back to the Amalekites and their role to be completely and utterly destroyed, and we're not, right? And so he's being twisted up. He's being twisted up. And, even sinners with good hearts, right? I think he had a good heart for the most part. He, when he knows about things and he's in his right mind and he's not, at the Diddy party, he's not hosting a Diddy party, he's probably not the worst of guys, right? And that's, it's funny, using this as a image of what is actually going down in current events, taking these precepts, right, and applying them to today. Diddy in the court and the interviews, when he wasn't on drugs and he wasn't under the influence of the powers behind these Diddy parties or whatever. He was a giving guy. He was a sharing guy. He cared about people. Under the influence, he was smacking women around and all the way up to I'm trying to be thoughtful with my words because this is going to go on YouTube, but trafficking people for these parties, for physical activities at these parties, right? And so, it's under these influences of the demonic and of the flesh, right? Under witchcraft, drugs and booze is witchcraft, y'all. Under the influence of all this stuff, we're not ourselves. We're this demonic thing that is influenced by lust of the flesh, lust of the eyes, and pride of life, and you cannot separate from that. So, did she have a fallen away? Maybe, because if you look here, in 12 and 13, and they told Mordecai what Esther said, then Mordecai told them to reply to Esther, "Do not think to yourself that that in the king's palace you will escape any more than all other Jews." Now, even though he does not say that, I think he's implying you will not escape God's wrath any more than all the other Jews. Right? So she needs the intercession as well. No matter who you are, you need the intercession. Yes. Right? Yes. And applying the precepts to it, right? When you apply the precepts to it, okay. But she's in the king's palace. She hasn't seen the king. She's laying low. She has not herself told them that she is a Jew, right? So maybe deep down there is this part of her that thinks she can get out of it, okay? We are human. She is human. There is a thing called the human condition, and in the human condition, there is self-preservation. And so we'll have to pick up on the rest of this tomorrow. Running out of time, y'all. But um, have a great day. Enjoy the sun. Let it hit your skin, man. Get outside. Get off the video games and off the phones, and um, you know, soak it up. Soak it up.